All right. So the problem with this one that we had is this is not a function. I don't know how many of you practice by graphing things in your calculator, but you can't graph this one in your calculator because your calculator is a graphing calculator, function calculator. It only graphs functions. Now, does anybody here know what a function is? Good, good. You do? You know what a function is? What is it? Well, this is an equation that's not a function. So what's the difference between an equation that is and an equation that's not? Anybody? All right. An equation that is a function will have an x that maps to different y's. The x's will change. The x-coordinate, the input variable, will change. Things that are not a function, the input variable will not change and map to different outputs. Okay? That means that it's going to be an error. You're going to see where the error is going to show up. So for most people, when I say that, that kind of goes over their head about x's are going to be mapped to different y's. You go, okay, whatever. Okay, well, that's the mathematical terminology for it. Here's where you need to recognize something being a function or a not function, is usually when things have errors in them. So the graph of this is a vertical line that passes through -1. That's the graph. Okay? Well, let's say, for instance, I asked you how do we get to -1, 4? We get to that coordinate. What did we do? If we're right here, how did I get to -1, 4?
You go
Straight up, how many units? 4 units. So I went up 4 units. Did I go left or right at all? So let's talk about that in terms of slope. Okay? If I'm doing that in slope, my slope is I went up 4. Did I go left or right or run at all? Therein lies our error. What is 4 divided by 0? Try it. Try it.
I don't even know how to graph on the calculator.
You don't have to. We're not graphing. I'm asking you what 4 divided by 0 is. It says error, error, error. This is where, for me, a lot of people can understand the concept of this being a function or a non-function. I have an issue. I have an error. My calculator cannot calculate that. Okay? Because you can't divide by 0. And to me, the slope understanding of this is probably easier than the mapping understanding of mapping a coordinate to another point, mapping an input to an output. Because I rise this and I run that, so therefore I'm dividing by 0, and that generates an undefined slope. When I have an undefined slope, there's a problem. Okay? What's 0 divided by 4?
0.
Yeah, that's plain and simple 0. So therefore, in a 0 divided by 4 slope, am I going up or down at all? Think about the location of the 0. I'm not, right? I'm just running left or right. So what kind of line would that create? Do it. Do it with your hands. Horizontal line. Drew, he did this. Okay? Did that. That's a horizontal line. And so with the horizontal line, I have a slope of 0 because it's 0 divided by any number I want to put in the bottom, so that can be calculated. But a number over 0 cannot be calculated. There's an error there. So to me, that's where you can go, oh, this is a non-function because there's an error. Yes, the definition of it is that you have x's mapped to more than one y. And that's the problem. How many of you ever heard of the vertical line test for functions? You ever heard that? You might not know how to use it, but at least you've heard it. Vertical line testing says that if I have a graph on here and I pass a vertical line over it, if it hits the graph in 2 places, then it's not a function. Well, how many times does a vertical line hit a vertical line? How many times does my pen hit that vertical line? Every time, right? It passes through because it is a vertical line. So that's why we use a vertical line to test it, because every vertical line is a non-function. Okay, so to answer this question, my slope is undefined. Am I ever going to have a y-intercept? No, it's never going to hit the y-axis unless it is the y-axis, right? If x equals 0, then that is the y-axis. So this one right now does not exist because no matter what I do, x equal -1 is never going to touch the y-axis. And the graph is a vertical line. Any questions?